Hi guys, so today what I'm going to do is show you ways to reuse content. So it could be a figure, it could be a prop, could be an entire scene. We're going to cover all three of those. Now there's lots of reasons why you'd want to reuse content. Let's imagine that you've created a character, say a female character who's dressed and has a particular hairstyle that you like. Then you may want to reuse her in other scenes. You know, perhaps she's a knight and you like the look of her combination with her armor, or perhaps you're creating a comic book where you're going to use her in lots of different scenes, or perhaps you're a creator who's doing stuff for schools where you're doing posters and you want to reuse the same figure lots of times to show different school exercises, for example. So it makes a lot of sense, rather than saving the scene that figure's in and then changing the background, just to be able to save the figure. So we're going to start with Le Femme today. So let's load Le Femme. Oops. Then I'm going to add some clothes. I was getting ahead of myself there. I'm going to add this Country Fresh here. Now I'm going to go through and add all of these parts of these clothing, but I just want to show you not exactly a trick, but right, so at the moment I'm double clicking to add them to the scene, but if I drag them, okay, there we go, if I drag them onto the figure, they'll automatically conform in theory. There we go, automatically conforming. So this was added one or two versions ago, auto conforming with drag and drop, and it's actually taking quite a while to do. Here we go. Now, I'm not convinced that drag and drop is actually quicker than doing, look here, double click to add the figure, and then simply go up to figure and do conform, and I conform to Le Femme. I'm not convinced that drag and drop was quicker than that. Anyway, look, here's a little trick. If you use double click to add to your scene, here's a little trick to see what's conformed and what isn't. Go to your poses. Just use your pose, preferably something quite bold. So I'll just choose Le Femme here. Apply the pose, and you'll instantly see, you can see her bandana and her boots have not been conformed. So I'm just going to select here, conform to Le Femme. Then I'm going to choose her bandana. Okay, so I can't see her bandana there, so I'm going to have to choose it from this list. And again, conform to Le Femme. And then that will snap to her. Okay, so now we've got a figure here. One last thing we'll add some hair. And female hair. And let's add Zelia hair. That's quite a nice haircut. Her bandana's gone. It doesn't really matter for this illustration. And this haircut now, usually when you import hair designed for Victoria 4, you have to scale it up if you're going to add it to Le Femme. The Le Femme and L'Homme figures are much bigger than the previous poser figures, so I'm just going to scale it up to about 108, something like that. There you go. Maybe translate that up a little bit as well to make it fit better. Now this is where you can get into trouble here. See the ear cut out? We need to move that back a little bit. Okay, that'll do. We're not looking for perfection. So I'm going to revert here to my main camera. Okay, so there's my figure. So I want to add that to the library. Oh, well, let's do one more thing actually. There we go. So let's just restore her pose. I could probably sort her hair out more, but I'm not really going to bother. It's not the point right now. Okay, so I'm just going to add a prop here. And I'm just going to go down to my clothing and accessories. female. So this is my folder that I have with different stuff that adds on to people. I'm going to choose Victoria 4 because I don't have anything specifically designed for La Femme. And I'm just going to add, excuse me, I'm just going to add a sword here. And this auto conforms to this hand here. And you can tell that if I call that hierarchy window up again. Okay, that's not appearing. Give me my hierarchy window. There we go. If I call this hierarchy window back, let's Control Shift E and go down to her right arm. Collar, forearm, hand, and children of the hand is a sword. It's a bit busy there. Let me close that down a bit. Unfortunately, it's showing all the fingers as well, but right, so there. Here's the hand, and one level down shows the sword, so that is a child of this hand. Another easy way to test that is just to put her back in a pose. So we'll just go back here and we'll put her in a pose again, and the sword will move with the hand. So I don't want that pose. So I'm just going to undo that. I'm not going to undo that. There we go. And I'm just going to put hand shape on there as well. So female, La Femme. And I'm just going to put a slight fist shape on that. Here we go, loose fists. Right hand. And that looks a bit better. So then if I could want to put her in some kind of fighting pose, that would be fine. Okay, I've moved her hair back a bit too much. It's annoying me now. I'm just going to put it back in position. Okay, let's choose our hair here. Pops. Hair. There you go. It's kind of in place. It took that scale off as well. Okay, right, so now we want to save this figure. So we've got a prop, we've got hair, we've got clothes, we've got a pose potentially. This is not a particular pose, but it doesn't matter. So all we just do now is go to characters, and I'm going to save. Don't do that, it's twitchy. Go down to here to a new folder, tutorials folder. Make sure that I've selected her. And now I'm going to do the plus, which means add to library. And I'm going to give it a name, example, character. And here's, I misspelled, that doesn't matter. Right, now here's a new thing that they added in Poser. Which geometry file should this entry use? Now this is broken. Yet another of the 10 billion things broken in Poser 12. What this option does is if you say, right, there's three ways that Poser can save geometry files. When you create a figure, a geometry file is created in runtime geometries and then any subfolder that the vendor wants to create. And then when you create a figure, that geometry will be embedded in the figure, or it can be in the character or the prop or whatever, or it can simply be referenced within the text file that is the character. It's easier if I show you. Let me open up this. Right, so here's my runtime libraries, and if I go to a character here, okay. Oh, I'm in the wrong runtime. Okay, let's go to Poser 6, for example, and do runtime. And down here you'll see a geometry file full of OBJs. So let's just open something here by Second World, and you'll see there's loads of OBJs there. And then in his file, there will be references to these objects. Now, if you create your own prop, it will embed this OBJ in the prop or the character file, and then every time you use that figure, it will then load another copy of that OBJ, which can be a real nuisance. It will quickly get your memory out of hand. So referring to the object rather than having it embedded is a much preferable way of working. And then there's another way of working. Let me just go back to where I was. Right, okay, I'm going to need that later. There's another way of working. So this new thing that was added, when you create your own geometry, your own character, it will save the geometry file in theory with the figure, but it doesn't do that. And I'll give you an example here. So we'll choose new geometry file saved with the library, and this is where it's going to save it to, in this character folder. So I'll just accept that. And now here's another important question. It says, this figure is part of a compound grouping. Do you want to save the whole group or just the individual figure? What that means is all of this other stuff, this clothing, this sword, this hat, this hair, they're all the other parts of the compound object. And it's saying, do you want to save all of those things? If I pull up my hierarchy window, well, I can't show it to you now, I'll show it in a minute. But basically by saying a whole group, it will save all of that stuff. So I've saved that now to my tutorials library, hopefully. It's taking a while because it's having to save all of the clothes and the props as well. And there's the character now. So there's example character. I don't know what I spelt there. Right, now if I open my hierarchy window again, I can't. Hierarchy window. Okay, we'll do it this way. It's very slow. Okay, so I close her down, and you'll see all of the other parts here. Tank, shorts, boots, and the sword is parented to her. These are conformed, so they show up differently in the hierarchy window. So let me just save that layout so I can get to it again quickly. Okay, so we've got this character now. Here's a quick way to see that that character is saved as you meant to. So we choose the character in the scene and just move her out of the way, and then reload from here, just to make sure it loads as you meant it to. And there you go, here's the character with all of the stuff parented and ready to go. Okay, so I'm going to undo that. Move her back to the middle. Here's another way without having to move her. Double click to load her. And she's loaded now. Go to our hierarchy window. Okay, it is awfully slow. Okay. Come on, show me the hierarchy window. Okay, I'll do it this way then. It's acting very strangely. Right. And I look in my hierarchy window. We've got Le Femme, boots, shorts, tank, and then here we are again duplicated. Le Femme, boots, shorts, tank, etc. Okay, so I'm just going to undo to get rid of that second figure so the scene doesn't get cluttered. So that saved that, and now if I look in my runtime, you'll see character file, PMG and XMP. So just a quick explanation. The XMP is the data file that tells you information about the figure. Let me just quickly go to the library. I didn't add any information there, but in the library here we can have an extended details thing underneath which shows you more information about the file. Let me see if I can get us to that now. I can never remember. Oh, here we go, extended details panel, and it gives you all of this stuff. So I could have added all of these tags, so when you search your library it would be easier. Supposing you had office supplies as a category, you could group this in an office supplies, or there are a lot of props that don't have the name of the actual object they are, say pens or something like that, in a office supplies kit that you get. It won't name all of the parts properly, so you can add your own kind of tags here, and then that will be saved in this XMP file. It's a text file, although it shows up as a Photoshop here. Then the PNG is just the thumbnail, and then the example character. So the example character here, 19050 kilobytes. Okay, so we just did there. Let me just show you. So we've got the FEM again. I'm just going to shut that extended details panel down. We're going to save her again. So we're going to go plus, and we're going to say Pro, and this time we're going to do the original figure geometry. So what this should do is simply retain pointers to the original figure geometry. So the version we saved before should have saved the geometry in the library, and it was 1905. This time we're going to choose the version that points to the geometry, just uses references rather than including the geometry. And if I save that, do whole group, so it's saving everything there, and go back to the folder, you'll see as it starts to write it, and you'll see that this file is exactly the same size. So it's either embedding all of that stuff, or the file size is really big. I think it's just embedding it in both cases, so that's broken anyway. Okay, doesn't matter though, because what we've got here now is a figure that we can reload into any other scene without having to do a file load to get her in. She's just a character now. Okay guys, so for the next example we're going to work with a prop. So I'm just going to load a prop that I created earlier on for a futuristic scene. It's a holo mapper. That's like a holographic mapping kind of object. And if I go into the hierarchy, you'll see here we've got the root object, the holographic base, and then you've got all of these props that are added to it. Now for this example I'm not going to show you how to rig these, but just assume they had been properly rigged, which they haven't. So now I want to save this prop, so all I just do is go into my folders where I want to save it, and then make sure I choose the base object, so that's holomap1, which you can see here. And I could have selected that in the hierarchy window instead. I could have just selected, oh, reparented those, how annoying. I could have just selected there and done it, and then move that out the way. I'm going to shut it. And now I'm just going to do plus holo mapper, and then I'm going to select subset, and for this I want to select all the parts of the holo mapper that I want to save. Now you could imagine this could be a sword and a scabbard, or you know, a desk or a furniture or something. Right, so I'm going to select all of those parts. It's called holo mapper. When I click OK, it's going to save that to my library, and there's the holo mapper. Now again, I'm just going to select the original object, and I'm just going to move it out the way so that I'll easily be able to see when the new one comes in. Double click, and there we are, so we know that's saved. Now I always double check that an object has been saved to the library before I close the file down. You could just save it, you know, save the scene in the usual way, go up to here and then do save as, but in this particular case it's just easier if you double check that it loads, because it's very easy once you've checked it to just Control Z and return to where you were anyway, and then you could save that scene or whatever. Okay, so the last example I'm going to show you is I'm just going to shut that down. No, don't want that to save. Is an entire scene. So in this case we're going to load a building, and then we're going to furnish it. So in this case we're going to go to Dream Home. So we're going to choose the upper guest room, and this loads into position straight away. And then we're going to furnish it. So what furniture are we going to have in there? We're going to have put a children's bedroom. So UGC, upper guest room, preload it all. Very nice feature from the artist who made this. So there you see a scene that you might want to use occasionally. Perhaps you're doing something about kids' homework, or a children's story or something. You've got their little bedroom there that you've created. So this is a scene that you might use often. Again, excuse me, I'm just going to get rid of that. There, I'm just going to change dimensions to fit to preview. I have it set so that it's automatically set to render 4K, but for this it's just putting those grey bars there. It's annoying. So this could be a scene that you're going to use regularly, and it would be very easy just to save that scene in its bare state there, call it bedroom, and then it would just save that scene. That would be easy, okay? That would work, but why have to load a root scene like that? Far better to just save that scene just like any other library object. So all we do is we just go down to here, call it bedroom, and it's now going to save that entire scene to my library. So now I don't have to go open. Anytime I want to load that scene, right, because that was easy to create, I'm just going to do new here. And let's add a figure back in. Where were we? We were La Femme, weren't we? La Femme. Okay, that's an earlier version I just loaded there. It might not load. Okay, there she is. Okay, and now all we have to do is go to our complete scenes, double click to load the bedroom, and that will load around her. So you could pose your figures first to keep the processor load low, and then when you want to, you just have your other scene, you just add it afterwards, and it adds to what's already there. So that's quite useful. Alternately, you could just choose where it replaces everything. So here, no, we're not going to save that, and this is just the equivalent of loading the scene rather than adding it to your current scene. So there you go, guys. There's a few different ways of saving your assets so they can be reused more conveniently. Hope you found that useful. You take care and have a great day.